Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the Washington football team possibly being interested in trading for Browns tight end David Njoku, and I'll also be talking about if we should trade for him and also John Ross. So if you guys are new, subscribe for Washington and NFL content. So let's get right into the video, and remember, check out House of Hoodies. Use code Pedro for 15% off. So it was reported yesterday that Browns tight end David Njoku would like to get traded before the November 3rd trade deadline. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about if it is realistic that we trade for David Njoku and a few realistic trades involving David Njoku to the Washington football team. So let's get started. So like I said, this was reported yesterday, and this has happened in the past with David Njoku where he has requested a trade or it's been out there and nothing, has materialized. But we'll see if it ends up happening this time around, because they do have Austin Hooper, who is a solid tight end, and they also have Harrison Bryant, who I do believe they drafted in either the 3rd or 4th round, so they've got some really good depth at that position. And if they get a linebacker or maybe a guy in the secondary, which we really don't have to trade, then they might be able to move on from David Njoku. So we'll see. If you guys want to look at his stats, I'll pull them up right here. So this year, he hasn't had a good year at all. He's played in 3 games, 5 catches, 65 yards, and a touchdown. But again, really hasn't played, and he hasn't gotten a lot of playing time. And when he has, he really has been like the 2nd or 3rd stringer. When he really does have some really good talent, he was a 1st round pick a few years ago now. Last year, same situation. He barely played, and also, he didn't have a really good relationship with Freddie Kitchens. They didn't really see eye to eye, and he actually ended up, he got placed on IR, and he wasn't getting much playing time. But if you look at 2018, in Baker's good year, because remember, Baker really hasn't been that great the last couple years. He had 639 yards receiving, 4 touchdowns, and that was in his 2nd year, played in all 16 games. So, the Browns might not want to move on from David Njoku just yet, but if they do, I would try to give a late round pick, possibly a player, to try to acquire him. Still don't know what the price is, because, maybe earlier before this offseason, I would have said a 3rd or a 4th, but he hasn't really done much this year. He's gotten injured again, so that price might have gone down. Also, could possibly give up a player, Ryan Anderson, Fabian Moreau. If they want to take those guys, I would gladly move on from those guys for David Njoku, because David Njoku has star potential at that tight end position, and at the very least could provide some good depth for our team. But I think he could be a piece, if you traded for him, that you could develop, and he could be your tight end of the future, and he could be another player that you can add to your core and be a really, really good trade. But again, it's not very likely that we are buyers at the trade deadline, especially with our record. And also, Ron Rivera, I think he wants to see what he has in this team before he goes out and trades for a lot of guys, big name players, signs a lot of big name players. So I think that might happen more next season. Who knows though? If he gets a really good price, or him and Kyle Smith really like a guy on the market and can get him for cheap, I think they would do it. In another video, I will talk about players that we might end up trading, but that's going to be later down the line. So one trade that I put out there would be, we trade Ryan Anderson away to the Browns for David Njoku, and depending on what they're asking for, I would do Ryan Anderson in like a 5th round pick, maybe a 4th round pick. I don't know again what the asking price for David Njoku is, but I know that we would not give up a 3rd for David Njoku. John Keim, he's been saying we want to keep our picks, and especially a 3rd round pick. If it is the 49ers, which will be a little bit after ours, I just don't think it's worth it, and I definitely think they don't think it's worth it. So we're most likely, at most, going to give up a 4th round pick and a player, maybe even less, for David Njoku. And who knows, maybe they want Fabian Moreau, but they definitely they're probably going to want, if not a player that can start on their team, a guy that can provide some good depth. So that's what I would do. And you could go just give him a 4th round pick or something. I want to hear what you guys think about David Njoku. Normally, I would say we should be more sellers at the trade deadline, considering our record, but I think this guy could be a player. We could build around him at that tight end position. I think he could be a good player on offense first. So now real quick, and this one is going to be quick, about John Ross. So some people were talking about possibly going after him. So John Ross did request a trade as well. The former 1st round pick, and as you guys all know, he ran a 4.22 40-yard dash. He's been active for only 3 games this season and has just 2 receptions for 17 yards. So John Ross is interesting. Our receiving depth right now, this is something that I honestly think could happen just because of the lack of receiver depth that we have, not only before the injuries, but Isaiah Wright got hurt, AGG got hurt, and Steven Sims. They're all hurt. So we don't know the updates on Isaiah Wright and AGG, but if they are out, and especially if they're out for, 2-3+ weeks, we really only have 3 receivers on the roster in Terry McLaurin, Dontrell Inman, and Cam Sims. So we might have to go after someone either on our practice squad to call up, or a free agent, or possibly a trade. And it's not going to be a big name like Allen Robinson, but John Ross could definitely be realistic. I don't think it would be really anything, though. I think we could get him for a 7th round pick. We have 2 7th round picks, one from the Raiders. I truly believe that we could trade him for a 7th round pick. I think he's a free agent either this offseason or the next, so they're probably going to move on from him soon. They have no leverage in these trade negotiations because he's only been active for 3 games. So, and there's a reason for that. Obviously, he hasn't been playing well, but the Bengals have some good wide receiver depth. They have T. Higgins, AJ Green, Tyler Boyd. So that's part of the reason why he isn't, and Tate. So not Golden Tate, but another Tate. So that's part of the reason why he hasn't been getting a lot of playing time. So especially because we don't have good receiver depth, I would give up a 6th, maybe even a 7th round pick, take a flyer on the guy. He has some, decent potential. 19, just 1 year ago, he had 500 receiving yards for 3 touchdowns, 18.1 yards a catch. That is pretty good. And, we could definitely use him on the team. He is only 24 years old, so very young. And I think this is issue with the Bengals, unless they picked up his option, which I doubt they did. So those are kind of the guys that have been rumored. They asked for a trade, and this is just in the last couple of days. David Njoku refuted it, but I still doubt it. I think he does want to get traded. So I want to hear what you guys think about David Njoku and John Ross. Who would you like more, and what would you give up for them? And then maybe in the next couple of days, either this week or next week, I will be doing 5 players that, or 5 realistic trades that we could end up making. Some players that we end up trading away, not us trading for players. So again, thanks for watching. Make sure you smash that like button, turn on those post notifications so you never miss a video, and yeah, subscribe, and peace.